right, and now we go back to D.C. right now, and that's where MLK III, this is Dr. King's eldest son, he is speaking right now at a voting rights rally. Let's listen in.
They support the bill, but refuse to eliminate the filibuster to pass it. They think the real problem isn't that our rights are being stolen. They think the real problem is a disease of division that can be cured with some optimism and conversation. Now, my father worked to bring people together in his time, but he was no Pollyanna. In his speech, The Other America, he talked about how some people were pushing back on civil rights because, like these two senators, they felt the problem couldn't be solved with legislation. They told him he had to change hearts first, and he worked hard at that. After all, he was a Baptist preacher. But he knew that when someone is denying you of your fundamental rights, conversation and optimism won't get you very far. He said, although it may be true that morality can't be legislated, behavior can be regulated. Even though it might be true, he said, that the law cannot change the heart, it can restrain the heartless. Even though it may be true that the law cannot make a man love me, it can restrain him from lynching me. So let me be clear. When states are engaging in lawless voter suppression, only the law can stop them. Senators Sinema and Manchin also say if the bill doesn't get bipartisan support, it shouldn't pass. Well, the 14th Amendment, which granted citizenships to slaves in 1868, that didn't have bipartisan support. Should formerly enslaved people have been denied citizenship, Senator Sinema? The 15th Amendment that gave formerly enslaved people the right to vote in 1870, that didn't have bipartisan support. Should former slaves have been denied the right to vote, Senator Manchin? In 1922, 23, and 24, some senators filibustered an anti-lynching bill that had passed in the House. Would Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema have supported blocking those bills too? I'm just applying their logic here and showing that it's not logical at all. To them, the filibuster is sacred, except for when it's not. In 2010, Senator Sinema supported the idea of using reconciliation to get around the filibuster and pass health care reform. Just last month, they both supported an exception to the filibuster to raise the debt ceiling. But they draw the line at protecting the rights of millions of voters. History will not remember them kindly. In April 1963, my father was jailed in Birmingham for protesting segregation. While there, he wrote an open letter in which he said the biggest stumbling block was not the Ku Klux Klan, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I can't agree with your methods or direct action, who paternalistically feels he can set the timetable for another man's freedom. He was surrounded by people who told him to wait until a more convenient time and to use more agreeable methods. 59 years later, it's the same old song and dance from Senator Manchin and Sinema. But my father did not let up for a moment, and neither have we. More than 180 partners, over 1,000 faith leaders, and millions nationwide fought to make this vote possible. You're the reason President Biden spoke out last week and is swinging for the fences. You're the reason Speaker Pelosi has brought about powerful legislation and every procedural solution possible to protect black and brown Americans. You are the reason Leader Schumer set a deadline and is bringing the bill to a vote tomorrow. Organizing works, protesting works, and we cannot let up now. So no matter what happens tomorrow, we must keep the pressure on and say no more empty words. Don't tell us what you believe in. Show us with your votes. History will be watching what happens tomorrow. Black and brown Americans will be watching what happens tomorrow. In 50 years, students will read about what happens tomorrow and know whether our leaders had the integrity to do the right thing. Mr. President, Senators Manchin, Senator Sinema, members of the Senate, pass the Freedom to Vote John R. Lewis Act now. If you can deliver an infrastructure bill for bridges, you can deliver voting rights for Americans. If you do not, there's no bridge in this nation that can hold the weight of that failure. And now I have the great honor of introducing the leaders who believed in this fight from the beginning and who have stood by the side of black and brown Americans on voting rights. Speaker Pelosi has used her position of leadership to push from every angle to get voting rights bills passed, and we would not be where we are today without her commitment to our democracy. Representative Joyce Beatty, the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, has been instrumental in passing voting rights legislation in the House and getting us to this point in the fight. Representative Terry Sewell has been a pillar in the voting rights fight and leading the House to deliver for voting rights just like they delivered for bridges. Because of the leadership of these women, the House passed...
And we're listening to King's eldest son, Martin Luther King III, speaking at a voting rights rally. The family of the civil rights activist, the late civil rights activist, spending the holiday calling for federal rights legislation to be passed on Capitol Hill.